The planet Mercury is the closest planet to the Sun and is also the smallest planet in the solar system, RIP Pluto. It measures around 4,800 kilometers or 3,030 miles. It gets pretty hot in there. I mean, the max it can go is 427 Celsius, which is not as hot as the surface of Venus. You'd be confused considering this planet is the closest to the Sun, but that's not the case because it has close to no atmosphere, so it doesn't really trap in heat. It's just the heat the sun gives it. Um, but we'll talk about that later. It gets really cold. In the dark side, it goes around the point of absolute zero, which is pretty crazy. It takes around 88 Earth days to orbit the sun, and it spins really slow. Like, one day on Mercury is 176 Earth days. Basically, like half a year on Earth. The little planet does not consist of any moons, sadly. No rings, also sadly. Um, and it's just an overall boring planet, to be honest. I mean, like, the only interesting thing that happens is, like, its retrogrades. If you were to stand on the surface of Mercury and not, like, immediately melt, you would see the sun rise, get close to setting, pause, reverse for a little bit, and then set. It's weird. It's probably because how slow this planet rotates and how fast it orbits. So it may appear like it's doing that, but in reality, it's just you being really far from the sun and then getting close to it. It's all weird, but that's like one interesting thing about this planet. It's that it can do that. Um, it is visible from Earth with a naked eye and a telescope, preferably a telescope. This thing is really small. It's like a really tiny dot. Also, you're gonna have to find it around the end of sunset. No, around there. Actually, yeah. Um, it's just really difficult. You will miss it, considering how bright the sky is at that time and how dim and small this planet is. You're gonna miss it a lot compared to Venus, but you can probably live on this. I wouldn't recommend to. We can probably land on this thing, but I think around the middle of the light and the dark side, that little Goldilocks zone, not too hot, not too cold, seems it would be okay, but there's really nothing to do on that planet but collect like the rocks there. But yeah, so far, it's a boring planet. I don't really like it. It's not one of my favorites. We're gonna get to Venus now. So Venus is considered as Earth's twin sister because it is around the same size as Earth, just a little bit smaller. It is well known to have the thickest atmosphere in the whole terrestrial planets, and it's the hottest planet in the solar system. It is also the slowest rotating planet in the solar system. One day on Venus is 243 Earth days. Just imagine that. It takes around 225 days for it to orbit the sun, which is basically two-thirds of our year. It does not have any moons. It does not have any rings. It can be seen from Earth if you look around after sunset. It appears as a bright star. Most of the planets do. You will see it with a telescope. If you look closer, you could see it as a little crescent moon shaped, the way the sun hits the surface of it. Um, One impressive thing is the Venera probes. Here are the photos that they captured. They took the surface and they analyzed it. It's said there's mainly sulfur and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Living conditions are none. There's no life on that planet because it's hot and it's not very well. But there is a small portion of the atmosphere, somewhere in a sweet spot out there, that has the same conditions as here on Earth. But who knows? Will we ever live on there? Probably not. I'm not gonna risk that. No one is. So yeah, Venus is a very interesting planet. I personally like it. I like the nice beige color it has. It looks very silky. I don't know. That's just me. But let's just move on to Earth, yeah? So Earth is the third planet from the sun. It's also the planet we live in. It takes, well, we all should know this, 365 days for it to orbit around the sun and 24 hours to rotate once. Earth obviously has life. How do you think we're living? It has a moon, named the Moon, which has been believed it was formed by a planet colliding with Earth. Then the debris would scatter out into space and combine into our moon. The Earth consists of 70% water. The moon moves a centimeter away every year, and the weather events on Earth, there are hurricanes, there are tornadoes, earthquakes, which lead to tsunamis sometimes, blizzards, thunderstorms, water spouts, dust devils, aurora boreali, anything like that. Earth has so much, and we barely even discovered anything about it, which is the crazy part. Earth homes many different cultures, many different people, and it is a very, very beautiful planet to look forward to. Like, if you ever have the time to just escape the city and go out to wilderness, please do. There's so much to see, there's so much to experience. This planet has everything. But this planet held every single historical event you have learned about. Everyone who died, everyone who lived, everyone who lived so far, every single building, every single thing, it all happened on this planet. And that is the best part about this, is that it was all in this ball in space, and aliens probably didn't even know what the hell happened. So, enough yapping. On to Mars. So Mars is the fourth planet of the sun. It is also considered as the red planet due to the oxides in it that make it appear red, which, like rust, it looks orange and stuff like that, right? Whatever. It takes 687 Earth days for it to orbit the sun, and the rotational period is kind of similar to Earth. It's 30 minutes more than Earth, with the 24-hour and 30-minute rotational period. It has two moons, Phobos and Deimos. They're two little rocky moons, nothing too spherical like we have on Earth or any other planet moons. It has tons of events, like dust storms that completely cover the planet for months and months. I'll show a photo here. And some dust devils that some rovers captured. It is known to have the biggest canyon and the biggest mountain in the solar system, way bigger than the Grand Canyon and way bigger than our mountain here, Mount Everest. Mars also has polar ice caps, which are visible from Earth. With a really powerful telescope and with some nice imaging, you will be able to see it. It is amazing. It can be seen from the night sky as a little red star. You won't miss it if you know where you're looking for. But it's a very nice view if you have a really strong telescope. No life has been discovered on Mars, but it's theorized that running water was on Mars millions and millions of years ago because it has canyons. So that's pretty much everything about Mars right now. Let's move on to Jupiter. Jupiter is the fifth planet from the Sun, also known as the largest planet from the Sun. We're also getting to the categories of gas giants because there's really no, how do I say it, rockiness, I guess. It's just all gas and winds and storms and clouds, stuff like that, right? It takes almost 12 years for it to orbit the Sun, or 4,333 days. It rotates once every 9 hours, which can be seen from Earth. It has 95 moons. Four popular ones are Ganymede, Callisto, Io, and Europa. They were all discovered by Galileo Galilei. The big red spot is also one thing Jupiter is known for. It is a big storm that ranges 15,000 miles long, or 24,783 kilometers, with winds from 400 miles per hour or 648 kilometers per hour. The winds on the planet alone, it can vary from 180 miles or 289 kilometers to 900 miles or 1,448 kilometers per hour. One cool thing about Jupiter is that it protects us from asteroids with its massive gravitational influence. So we should be thankful that Jupiter is here, or else we would be smacked by asteroids day in, day out. Jupiter also has auroras, same thing as Earth. Appears a really bright blue on its polar caps. The Juno probe has captured close shots of Jupiter. I will show you photos here. Crazy, huh? With its rotational speed, it is considered as the fastest rotating planet in the entire solar system. Which is crazy. 9-hour days, that's insane. You can put almost 4 days of Jupiter into one Earth day. That is insane. Life does not exist here. Not at all. Will it ever thrive here? Nope. On the moons? Maybe, but I doubt it. But yeah, that's all of Jupiter. Let's go to the ringed planet, Saturn. Saturn is the sixth planet from the Sun. It is known for its beautiful rings, which you can see from Earth with a telescope only. It takes 29 years for it to orbit the Sun, or 10,756 days. The rotational period is around 10 hours and 33 minutes. It has 146 moons, which is the most moons a planet has. The most known ones are Enceladus, Mimas, Rhea, Iapetus, Titan, and Tethys. The wind speeds of Saturn can go from 500 miles per hour or 1,800 kilometers per hour. One unique thing, actually, no, two unique things that Saturn has, not just the rings. It has a weird hexagonal storm. It's wicked. I'll show you a photo here. And it also has a great white spot that you can see on the surface. It's weird because it just goes and then it dissipates just out of nowhere. But that great white spot, people call it, it is said to happen every 20 to 30 years on Saturn. It is theorized that Saturn's rings have been formed from planets, asteroids colliding with one another, and eventually forming all this debris that Saturn just collects and makes it as the rings. Life cannot be thriving on Saturn, obviously. It's another gas giant, so there really is no surface area. And here are some photos that the Cassini probe captured of Saturn and inside of Saturn. Crazy. It later it later died. Yeah, but enough of Saturn. Onto Uranus. Uranus is the seventh planet from the Sun. It is known for its extreme tilt. It looks like it's flipped 90 degrees, and it spins on the opposite direction because of that. It takes 84 years for it to orbit the Sun, or 30,687 days. It takes 17 hours for it to rotate once. It is the first ice giant. It is also known as the coldest planet in the solar system, with temperatures of negative 300 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 195 Celsius. It has 28 moons. Most well known moons are Miranda, Umbriel, Ariel, and Titania. Life cannot live on here. It is too damn cold, and too damn windy, and too damn far. So that's pretty much it for Uranus. We don't really know that much. From what we've seen on Voyager 2, we have not yet done any other expedition just like that. It is a mystery from planets beyond Saturn. We barely know any of them. I mean, the most recent one we know is about Pluto, but we'll get to that. So let's move on to Neptune. So, on to Neptune. It is the eighth planet and the eighth considered planet. We'll get to that later. It is known for its deep blue-ish color, even though it's said to be fake. I don't believe that because it ruins the whole thing, right? Like, here's the photo of its blue that is well known and the blue that is theorized to be. Very boring, huh? It's just ugly. Anyways, it takes 164 years to orbit the sun once, and it takes 16 hours to rotate once. It is 30 times farther from the sun than Earth, and it has 16 moons. The most known ones are Triton and Proteus. The other ones are really not like that special. They're just pretty much asteroids that have just been caught in Neptune's orbit. It is also known for its dark blue spot, similar to Jupiter red spot, but it's like crazier, I guess, because it is the host of the fastest wind speeds in the entire solar system. It goes from 1,500 miles per hour or 2,400 kilometers per hour. And geez, that is insane speeds. Like, I can't even imagine that. 20 miles per hour speeds is crazy here on Earth. Just imagine, like, thousands and thousands of times greater than that. That is just too insane. This planet has only been observed by Voyager 2 probe in 1989 up close. We could count James Webb imaging, but that's just like, that just doesn't really count. But yeah, that's enough of Neptune. We're gonna go on to Pluto, the final planet of the solar system. Pluto, the ninth planet from the sun, saying that with quotes in the air right now. It is also the smallest planet from the sun. Very small. It's very small. It is smaller than our moon. Here, I'll put a comparison. The reason why it's considered as a dwarf planet, sadly, is it did not meet its requirements to be a planet in 2006. The IAU classified Pluto as a dwarf planet because it did not clear its orbit, which is a very stupid reason. It takes 248 Earth years to orbit the Sun, and the last time Pluto orbited the Sun was in 1930. It has an extreme elliptical orbit. I'll show it here. It is very different from our other planets. That's also a reason why it takes that long to orbit. It takes 6 days to rotate once. Insane. Almost a week. Pluto has 5 moons. The most known and largest one is Charon. Charon and Pluto are both similar in size. And it's a weird anomaly that happens with Charon and Pluto that Charon doesn't really orbit around Pluto like any other moons does. Charon and Pluto both orbit a single point in space. I'll show a little diagram here. And it's really weird because not only Pluto's orbiting the sun, but it's also orbiting something else. And then orbiting with Charon. It's just wild. It's boggling to me. But the other moons, Nix, Styx, Hydra, and Kerberos, they're just little tiny asteroids. They're not really that significant. Except Hydra kind of looks weird. It looks like an H, sort of, or an N. The last time we've observed Pluto was New Horizons in 2015. It discovered a heart-shaped glacier. Here, I'll show a photo here. Pretty cool, huh? So, yeah, that's pretty much all the planets in the solar system simplified as fast as possible. This is it. I'll see you in the next one.